Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Oilers News and Rumors here at the Hockey Writers. And I'm your host, Matthew Zator. And as always, for these videos, I've got Brian Swane here. We're a couple days, as we're watching this, tomorrow is the trade deadline on Friday. And as we're recording, there's a ton of talk and, some trades that are getting held up by no trade clauses. Nothing in the hopper right now, it seems like, for the Oilers. But as I say that, watch it happen. But Brian, how's it going?
Good. Yeah. Knock on wood, right?
That's the thing. There's anything can happen around this time. So, but the Oilers have been busy in the last few days, and acquiring Connor Murphy from the Chicago Blackhawks, and that name wasn't really in the news, in the rumors before with the Oilers. There's a number of other defensemen that have been rumored, but Connor Murphy's the guy that they end up getting. We'll talk about potentially other trades that are coming, but what do you think about the acquisition? He's a veteran. He's been around the block a few times. Not really a playoff. I mean, obviously the Blackhawks haven't been making the playoffs, so he doesn't have experience there. But he's got a lot in the NHL and can be a useful defenseman. So what do you think about the Oilers getting him?
Yeah, it's interesting about you mentioned his playoff experience. I think he's in his 12th season or so. His only playoff experience came in the bubble when Chicago kind of got in as one of the extra teams in 2000. And of course, they upset the Oilers in the first round and they had a bit of a run there. But in sort of the real world NHL, if you will, he hasn't played in the playoffs at all. So they're definitely not acquiring him for his experience, but he checks so many boxes for the Oilers in terms of what they needed on the back end. It's well documented how much this team is struggling defensively this year, particularly since Christmas. And it's been the biggest thorn in their side. So, yeah, you said it. It wasn't really something that was on the radar here. So I think it kind of came up. It caught some people off guard. And it was, I would say, a bit of a pleasant surprise because he fills so many needs that this team has. He's a stay-at-home defenseman. He's sound and reliable. And these are things that the Oilers just don't have on their blue line right now. And I thought was really interesting too is that he kind of spoke. He hasn't played for the Oilers yet, but he was in town for their game against. Boy, I need more sleep because I'm blanking on who they played last night. Anyway, he was in for their game on Tuesday night, and he spoke to media, and he kind of talked about how much he wanted. Edmonton was the place he wanted to come. He wanted to be a part of this. He saw the opportunity here. He sees the potential with this team and how they've made deep playoff runs. And he said that it was the target on his list. If he could have his druthers about where he would be traded, it would be to Edmonton. So. I think there's a lot of excitement about him coming in, and obviously a lot of excitement for him to come to Edmonton too. And so, the Oilers have to pay I won't say a steep price, but they have to give up a second-round draft pick. And this is not a team that has a lot of draft picks in its cupboard here for future years because they've been trading them all the way to acquire the current players. So, no, but I think I like it. Like I say, it was one that kind of wasn't really on anybody's radar here. So it was a nice surprise and a player that obviously GM Stan Bowman knows well from his time in Chicago.
For sure. And that's a big thing. I mean, do you think he's going to get as much? I mean, obviously his minutes were starting to get reduced a bit in Chicago as they started getting the younger guys getting more of the ice time. But he did for a number of years. He was a top 4, maybe even top pairing defenseman in Chicago. So I obviously not going to be that here, but you think he could be maybe a good pair? I mean, T.S. Ekholm has shown really well with Evan Bouchard, but do you think Murphy could maybe slot in beside him and maybe be what Ekholm was when he came to the Oilers?
That's a great point. Great point, because I don't think Ekholm is the same guy as he was. Well, especially 3 years ago when he first was traded to the Oilers, but even 2 years ago when they made their first run to the Stanley Cup and he was so instrumental there. I just don't think Ekholm's been the same guy since he came back from his injury that he suffered towards the end of the regular season last year. And I think that, Father Time has maybe finally caught up with him. He's still really solid, really good. Probably one of the most reliable and better defensive defensemen on this team. But that says more about the defensive depth of the Oilers maybe than it does about him. But yeah, so I think you could look at it this way, that Connor Murphy could come in and play that role that Matthias Ekholm did so well 2 years ago, 3 years ago, but particularly 2 years ago when they made the run to the Cup final. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if they'll probably try him with them. We'll see. We'll see how it is, and he's going to be huge on the penalty kill, of course, and be a big part of that. I think he's actually could be a really good addition.
I expect to see them experimenting a lot with their defensive pairings. We saw it actually last night in the game, or Tuesday night in the game against Ottawa. They really put the pairings in a blender, which is for the first time, and I think it's kind of an acknowledgement on the part of Knobloch and the coaching staff that what we've been rolling with just isn't working, and let's see if we can find maybe there's a different couple pair of combinations in here that might be better suited for this team. And now you insert Connor Murphy into this mix. That just presents that many more opportunities. So, they've got, it's exactly 20 games left when he's going to be coming into the lineup on Friday, presumably. So you've got, that's your runway to try and, find what the best three pairings are for this team as they hopefully look to move into the playoffs.
Yeah. Which I mean is not a complete given right now.
It is not at all. No,
it's not.
No, it is not. And everyone's kind of assumed in Edmonton, like it's kind of been like, they're struggling, but it's all good. It's kind of always been an accepted given that they're going to make the playoffs. If they were in any other division, we probably both know very well how weak this division is this year, right? Yeah. But this is they're fortunate to be in the Pacific this year, which is, and as it's funny, they're sitting on one side, they're sitting about maybe 3 or 4 points clear of the last wild card spot, and on the other side they're like 2 points out of first place. So,
yeah, I know. That's
yeah.
All right. And as we're talking here, it seems like the Oilers are doing something.
You're kidding.
This is live. Jason Dickinson potentially going to the Oilers.
Wow.
Again,
okay.
Blackhawks connection there. And this Elliot Friedman is the one tweeting it, so we can probably pretty much bank that. We're doing a live here thing. What do you think, Jason Dickinson getting acquired by the Oilers?
Speaking of names that were not really on the radar. Another surprise. Did they say what they're trading for him?
It's not yet. It's just saying Jason Dickinson to the Oilers. We'll see how it turns out. Discussing another move. So I mean, it's going to happen. It seems, but yeah, no indication right now. But maybe we'll know by the end of the episode here. We can update it. But yes. Dickinson really. I mean, I have experience with him in Vancouver. Didn't really fit in. With the Canucks, but it seems to have really done really well with Chicago. Been basically what he was in Dallas when he was there. A good bottom six, and it seems like that's what the Oilers were looking for to kind of bolster that. Our next segment was what other trades should they make? Well, it looks like they're going to answer that question here.
You could probably speak to him more than I can, honestly. Like, obviously, from having watched him in Vancouver, but we had talked about this before and what we were going to talk about for this, and that was the topic. And my answer was going to be a bottom, ideally a third line forward. There it is. So I think he kind of checks the one guy that was kind of and his name had been floated out there that I thought was going to be a great fit if the Oilers could get him would be Nicholas Waugh. And I kind of look at Dickinson in comparable in some ways. Would that be fair?
I would say that's pretty much they're pretty close. I mean, the one thing about Dickinson, when he came to the Canucks, he was supposed to be great penalty killer, good on face-offs, gritty, could score, and he's been that with Chicago, which I was like, well, he gets traded there, and now he becomes what the Canucks were supposed to be with them, and he was traded to Chicago from Vancouver. And now he's presumably going to the Oilers now. So I mean that. I think he's a great fit in a bottom six role, and even a guy that can play with some skilled guys. Because in Chicago, he was times playing with Bedard at times there, so he can be a versatile type forward, and I think that's what the Oilers need. In a bottom
absolutely.
Six, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, you're describing their wish list here right now. So I mean, if he plays, especially if he, the guy that he was in Dallas. Which is where I remember him so clearly from. If you can take that guy and put him in this Oilers lineup right now, I mean, that again checks a lot of boxes I think they're looking for. I'm wondering, the big thing with the Oilers was they're so tight to the cap, of course, and they were going to have to try and clear out Andrew Mangiapane's contract if they were going to bring anybody in. I'm curious if he is either part of this deal, if there's a separate deal they've got going where they've traded Mangiapane and maybe tacked on a draft pick to somebody just to take them off their hands. So this will be interesting. I'm really curious to hear about what's going the other way in this deal.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it's still it's in that not sure what it is, but I mean,
I'll just say it better not be Curtis Lazar. They better not be.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, the one thing about I think Dickinson is also he's a playoff type forward, I think, too, which of course, this is what the Oilers are looking at. So I mean, I think that's a really maybe a little bit of an underrated deal. I mean, Dickinson's one of those guys that he hasn't been a guy that's been in the rumors a lot as being a guy that could be traded.
No, again, I mean, this was not a name that's come up with Edmonton at all, really. There's been a lot of names batted around. His has not been one of them.
Yeah, so that's something that could be done. And beyond that, do you think the Oilers are doing anything else? I mean, that was probably their bolstering the defense. They did with Connor Murphy. Yeah. Now they're bolstering their bottom six with potentially with Jason Dickinson. Is there anything else beyond that in the hopper? Because I mean, we talked about before recording about Darnell Nurse, and I'm sure Oilers fans are looking to try to get him out of here, but I got the no trade. I think that's going to be a big snag of trading him. But any other trades you think could happen?
I mean, I think going into this trade deadline, there was kind of, if you're an Oilers fan, what you dream of them doing, and then what can be done realistically given, just given their assets and their position relative to the cap. These two moves, and realistically, that would be it. It would be to, try and get a guy that can play on the second or third defensive pairing and can provide something, especially with what they've been missing since trading away Brett Kulak. And then, a bottom six forward, and they've done that. Now, there's the pie in the sky deals out there. Jason Robertson is one that's floated around. I don't see how that happens. So in a real world, I think that they've done quite well. Jordan Binnington, his name continues to come up. The Oilers goaltending. I mean, I'll just say this: that you can. This team has gone through had basically 2 months of running with two entirely separate goaltending duels. They started for those first 2 months of the season going with Skidder and Pickard, and now it's been the Jarry and Ingram show for the last 2 months. And they've sucked defensively both times. They've been giving up a ton of goals either way, right? So I don't know if necessarily it's the goaltenders on this team. And who knows what you're going to get with Jordan Binnington, I mean, we saw what he can be at the Olympics, and the contrast with the guy who struggled in the NHL this season. So I think a lot of fans would like to see Binnington here. I think that people believe that, he's a guy that can find that magic in the playoffs and backstop them to the championship. I think Elliot Friedman as recently as Tuesday was still talking about that as being a possibility. So that would be the other thing I would keep an eye on is have they decided, okay, after 3 months into this experiment of swapping Skinner for Jarry, they decided, okay, let's cut our losses. It hasn't worked. Go in another direction. That would be the one thing I keep my eye open for.
Yeah, the goaltending is something. I mean, of course, did the Tristan Jarry trade, which we, thinking that was going to be, but he hasn't really. I mean, he was good for a little there, but he's kind of fallen back into the. I mean, he's been inconsistent. I mean, that's one thing that's happened with him over the last a few seasons. He's been good and bad, and when he's bad, he's really bad, which is not the thing you really want.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I think maybe the goaltending could be something. Yeah, Bennington's out there for sure as a name. I don't think, like you've mentioned with Robertson, why would Dallas trade him? I mean,
Yeah, exactly right. Like I think I mean
they're
this
making
is
the playoffs. They're trying to win a cup. I don't think they're trading their best forward.
Yeah, people throw out all sorts of great ideas out there. Fans love to talk, and but I exactly right. Why would Dallas trade him? That's about 0.1 of about 400. Why I can't see that deal happening. So
yeah. All right. Well, I probably answered this, but by the end of Friday, if this is all it is that a successful trade deadline for the Oilers, or would you be thinking they should really address the goaltending a bit more, or would this be what would you expect?
You know what? Like I say, with the constraints they're dealing with, I would say this is a pretty successful trade deadline right as of right now. I don't know if this is a team that can make a legit run at the cup. I just think there's a lot of flaws with this team this year that wasn't present the last couple of years. There's a lot of things working against them. And outside of like a couple of major blockbuster transformative deals, I don't know if you were going to do anything this deadline that would put this team in that position anyway. So given that, these two deals, they've checked a couple of boxes that they needed. They haven't, again, as I'm very curious to see what the return is for in this Dickinson deal. They haven't. They've been able to do it with the limited capacity they have for making these trades right now. So I would actually call this in some ways a success. And you know what? You just see what you can do this year, and this is a team that's kind of, I think, has got to do some real retooling in the off season as they look to kind of make regroup and get back to what a team that can legitimately contend for the championship.
Yeah, I think there are some concerns. Obviously, we've talked about it in the past with their how bad they are defensively, and one thing that still hasn't gone away is their slow starts and getting behind in games. I mean, they've been able to come back, which I mean is great. I mean, it's great to be a good comeback team, but you shouldn't have to always do that, right?
No.
And eventually it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. And
it does all the time. Right. I mean, you're seeing it this year probably more than other years. They're not getting away with it as much this year, and a large part of that is the defensive play and the goaltending. If you want to put it on the goaltending as well, I think it's a defensive thing primarily myself, but. So yeah, I just don't. I don't think this team is. You're always a Stanley Cup contender when you have McDavid and Draisaitl, of course, but this team is not poised to make a run. I think the way they were the last couple of years. So I think you just do what you can do, put yourself in that position, and that's where they're at right now. I would say right now this you've within their limited means they've done all right for themselves.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see what the actual full deal is. But I mean, if that Mangiapane is included in that just really adds to the, that's a good, even a better deal.
Unless we find out they traded like Draisaitl for him or something, then then I might have to give this a thumbs down. But right now, it sounds pretty good.
I think this is probably what. I mean, if it's not him, it might be a pick. I don't know. I mean, it feels like a lot of these type deals are draft picks with these bottom six guys. And, overall, I mean, whatever it is, getting Dickinson's a pretty good trade. And of course, just dealing with the Blackhawks versus Murphy and now Dickinson here. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes for the Oilers, or if they have any other deals up their sleeve over the next couple of days. But if anything else does happen, we'll get together after the deadline and talk about that. But as of right now, we've reacted to the two deals that they've done. So thanks, Brian, for coming on, talking Oilers as always. We'll see if we get you back on next week if there's anything else substantial that happens with them. But lots of stuff still to go, and still some up in the air of even if they're going to make the playoffs, which you'd think they will, but the point spread between not being in the playoffs and being there is not large. So
it's a very, very, very narrow margin for, and they have a difficult schedule to finish the season. So I hopefully I'll be talking to you again for playoff previews. I'll just say that.
For sure. And that is going to come up pretty quick. So make sure to check out everything at thehockeywriters.com. We'll have reaction to all the trades. We've got, articles that come out right after that. So check that out, and any other stuff we've got in the hopper. Of course, there's going to be reaction to these trades coming down the pike as well. So check that out. Check our Substack newsletter. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe there, because you'll have all the updates for any articles that come out. But until our next video, we will see you next time.